Deadliest Catch revolved around Cornelia Marie for more than 10 years. It became popular thanks to Captain Phil Harris. His sons Jake and Josh pledged to continue his family's tradition. But everything changed irrevocably in August 2022. When a long-forgotten court document came to light online, it exposed a sinister secret that Josh had kept for 24 years. Because of how horrible the crime was, Discovery promptly removed the boat from their network. All of the programs were taken down by streaming services virtually immediately. Josh's teenage actions ruined all his father had worked so hard to create. In Bayou Labatra, Alabama, Horton Boats constructed the Cornelia Marie in 1989. For generations, the little shipbuilding community had been producing boats, and this one seemed to mark the end of an era. The Cornelia Marie was one of Elmo Horton's final large ships. With a draft of 11.7 feet, it was 128 feet long and 28 feet broad. Constructed from sturdy steel, it was prepared for the harsh Bering Sea. When racing to the crab grounds, it had a significant advantage thanks to its twin 750 horsepower Cummins QSK 19mm diesel engines, which propelled it to 14.5 knots. 3,000 gallons of fresh water and 2,800 gallons of gasoline were stored in the tanks. Enough for lengthy journeys without retracing your steps. Building the boat cost $2.5 million, which was a fortune at the time, but it soon shone that it was one of the most durable boats available. Cornelia Marie was named after the wife of Ralph Collins, the man who commissioned it. Ralph honored his wife's contribution to his life in the fishing industry by naming the boat after her, Cornelia Marie Collins. She worked directly next to him, so she wasn't only his wife. The boat's name distinguished it in a world where ships were typically called after myths or concepts. Cornelia had her name on the boat's hull and was a co-owner even after the couple's divorce. The Cornelia Marie was easily identifiable from Kodiak to Dutch Harbor thanks to its aquamarine and white paint and yellow banners. From the beginning, the Cornelia Marie encountered the worst of the Bering Sea. It caught herring, salmon, opilio crabs, and king crabs. Its enormous fuel and water supply allowed it to stay out longer, which gave it an advantage during those brief but intense crab seasons. Combining greenhorns and veterans, the early crew faced frequent danger, harsh gusts, and freezing waves. In 2005, the Cornelia Marie even assisted in the hunt for survivors after the large valley collapsed. There was only one man alive. The boat gained a reputation as durable and dependable as a result of these tests. Long before it gained popularity on television. The Cornelia Marie was well known among fishermen in the 1990s and early 2000s. A significant renovation increased its length by 22 feet, resulting in a 100,000-pound increase in crab capacity. Because of this, it was able to transport more than 300,000 pounds in a single trip. During difficult times, the Cornelia Marie persevered as other vessels went down. It was renowned for both its effectiveness and the crew's proficiency. Hard labor, wise decisions, and ongoing improvements were the boat's main drivers of success. These characteristics later made it ideal for reality TV. The Cornelia Marie legend was influenced by Bill Harris's account. In 1998, he assumed the role of captain after joining in the early 1990s and becoming a co-owner. Harris was stern, demanding, and devoted. He supported his workers through good times and bad, treating them like family. He spent more than 20 years with the boat. Harris started his career at the age of 17. Growing up in Bothell, Washington, he had been fishing with his dad since he was 8 years old. He was enticed into crab fishing by a friend's success. That friend purchased a brand new automobile after earning over $100,000 in a single season. Harris, in his beat-up Chevelle, desired the same thing. He dropped out of school and went north. His first season was difficult. He earned little and even quit once, but he returned after the captain made fun of him. At the age of 19, Harris achieved financial success, earning $130,000 in a single year. Harris acquired his first boat, the Golden Viking, when he was 21. His own skipper had given him the captain's chair on his birthday. As a young captain, it came with a lot of difficulties, debt, repairs, and earning respect. At one point, Harris had to make urgent repairs for $50,000, but he persisted. He also established himself as one of the top on the Bering Sea by his mid-20s. Despite his reputation for chain-smoking and giving instructions, Harris was a tough guy who genuinely cared about his people. He never required anyone to work for him, and he distributed profits equitably. Don't do it yourself. A large number of crew members came back year after year. Despite having 2 divorces and battling substance misuse, he never wavered in his commitment to his crew. "The danger wasn't the source of my stress," he stated. "It came from crab pots that were empty, since his workers might return home without anything." During Harris's tenure, the Cornelia Marie underwent significant modifications. It was enlarged by 22 feet and divided into 4 sections in a significant renovation, increasing crab capacity by 100,000 pounds. He collaborated alongside his sons, Josh and Jake, who made the boat a family heirloom. A significant event occurred for the Cornelia Marie in 2005. In the second season of Deadliest Catch, it was one of just 4 boats to be permanently shown. This wasn't merely fortunate fortune, though. Hard decisions had to be made by the producers. They were looking for only the greatest boats, and there were more than 250. By the year's end, they had reduced it to roughly 89. The Cornelia Marie was notable for both Captain Phil Harris and its powerful catches. Initially, Phil wasn't certain. He was concerned about cameras disturbing life on board or exposing too much. The discussions were difficult. The Discovery Channel was looking for boats that were both dependable and unique. During risky work, Phil wanted to keep shooting and preserve the anonymity of his crew. It was also well-timed. The previous Derby system was replaced by the new individual fishing quota system in the fishing community that year. This was a smaller elite group that only included the best boats. The Cornelia Marie deserved to be there. It was daring of Phil to take Josh and Jake, his boys, on board the Cornelia Marie. It was more than just a family choice. It gave the show a completely different level. Phil wasn't forgiving of them. "They worked just as hard as everyone else," he ensured. Viewers saw the genuine thing. The conflicts, the strain. The times when captaining and being a father conflicted. The audience never forgot one particular moment. "You need to get help, man," Phil remarked, glancing at Jake. "If nothing else, you'll have a chance." As the brothers discovered the harsh realities of crab fishing, the show tracked their journey. Their difficulties were evident when Phil's health started to deteriorate. In 2010, Phil passed away, leaving millions of followers grieving. Josh attempted to take the lead. Jake overcame his own demons. The Harris family's highs and lows kept the public interested. It wasn't only a performance. It resembled seeing actual life. A major factor in Phil's popularity among fans was his personality. He expressed what he was thinking. He had a genuine sense of humor. "Feel like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking match" is one of those lines that anyone might forget. Have you figured out why lions consume their young? His sense of humor allowed him to connect with others and helped him get through difficult circumstances. More than 5.4 million people watched as Phil suffered a stroke and died. Many claim to have shed tears for the Harris family. Phil was more than simply a skipper, he became the center of attention on Deadliest Catch. His quotations are still shared online by fans. Shirts and hats featuring his quotes are still purchased. His spirit endures. The boat itself came next. The Cornelia Marie was different from the others. It was easily recognized by its vivid blue and yellow hues. The appearance transformed the boat into a brand. It wasn't merely for show. People purchased model ships, shirts, and hats. As soon as they saw the boat in port, they shared pictures. Its reputation remained strong even when the Cornelia Marie changed owners or took a break from the program. Its daring paint job turned it into a representation of tradition and grit. For its crab hauls, the Cornelia Marie also gained notoriety. It has a reputation for bringing in large catches right away. Phil gave the boat and crew a good shove. Among the best boats throughout the challenging 2005 season was the Cornelia Marie. In order to keep ahead of competitors and storms, Phil took chances. Additionally, the boat itself was helpful. Nearly 300 tons of crab might be transported by this 128-foot-long vessel. Longer journeys and heavier loads were the result. It wasn't just TV that enjoyed the boat's record catches. They displayed the crew's talent and diligence. Phil Harris's battle with addiction and himself were bigger than life. Not only was he the Cornelia Marie's harsh, no-nonsense captain. Viewers noticed him holding a cigarette in each hand, occasionally lighting one from the end of another. It was all captured on camera. His coffee pots, his Red Bull cases, and his chain smoking. This hazardous mixture destroyed his health. Continued to work despite suffering a pulmonary aneurysm at sea in 2008. Despite pleas from doctors, his staff, and his boys, Phil continued to smoke. Even the man who survived fatal storms was unable to overcome his addiction. It finally caught up to him in 2010. Phil experienced a major stroke at the age of 53. The melancholy conclusion to a struggle he never really waged seemed to be his death. The same heavy burden was carried by his sons, Jake and Josh. The Harris family suffered from addiction like a plague. As early as age 10, Phil had given Josh alcohol and cigarettes. Young people were the first to suffer harm. It was particularly heartbreaking to watch Jake plummet. DUIs, heroin, and arrests. In 2024, it resulted in a fast-paced police pursuit and an 18-month prison sentence. Josh had his own struggles, but he made an effort to remain strong. Theft happened. Relapses happened. The family split up and made repeated attempts to patch things up. The true danger they faced was waiting at home, hidden behind the celebrity of crab fishing. It wasn't much simpler with the Cornelia Marie in your possession. The boat was constructed in 1989. It cost a fortune to keep going. In 2015, simply swapping out the engines for two 758-horsepower Cummins diesels required seeking new financial partners. Fuel, crew pay, insurance, repairs, the list went on and on. Josh dubbed it a financial black hole. It was rendered worse by the pandemic. Crew pay increased to 10 times the standard rate. Each season seemed like a risk. A poor catch could spell doom. Bigger risks, such as pursuing golden king crab in deeper, deadlier seas, were the only way to survive. To make matters worse, the cameras added an additional layer of tension. The safety of the workers wasn't always in line with the demands of the program. Storm-related filming, postponing travel, and aiming for drama. Crab fishing became much riskier as a result, but that was what made for good television. Occasionally, the Discovery Channel would even remove the boat from the program. As a result of legal or image concerns, not fishing. The crew had to contend with the demands of millions of people watching from their couches while also surviving at sea. It all changed forever on January 29, 2010. Anchored in St. Paul Island, Alaska, was the Cornelia Marie. They had crab to discharge. Phil fell suddenly. An enormous stroke. His crew took immediate action. They requested aid via radio. EMTs came running in. Each second mattered. The closest major hospital to St. Paul Island was hundreds of miles away due to its extreme remoteness. After stabilizing him, they scheduled a medevac and took him to Anchorage via airplane. Phil was rushed away, battling for his life, leaving his sons and staff dumbfounded. All of it was caught on video. Every minute, every tear. With each desperate radio call, it brought up difficult questions. Is the world supposed to see such suffering? There was no way for Phil to say yes or no. Discovery collaborated with the family. The boys from Harris agreed. They wanted to honor their father by letting everyone see the truth. But even now, people are still uncomfortable with that decision. Initially, it appeared that Phil might succeed. His hands were squeezed. He said. He told a joke. The physicians were shocked. While most stroke victims take months to recover, Phil accomplished it in a matter of days. Though hope can be cruel, the world began to hope. Everything changed when a brain bleed occurred suddenly. Phil's condition deteriorated. He was accompanied by his sons and pals. There was nothing to do but bid them farewell. Phil Harris, 53, passed away on February 9, 2010. Half of his ashes were disposed of with his mother's remains in a Harley-Davidson gas tank, while the remaining portion was dumped into the ocean. He had always lived by the water. 5.4 million people watched Redemption Day, the Deadliest Catch episode, when it aired on July 20, 2010. It turned become one of the most seen episodes in history. Viewers witnessed not just the last days of a captain but also the heartache of a family, the loss of a crew, and the harsh price of a difficult life at sea. Following the death of Captain Phil Harris in February 2010, Josh and Jake, his sons, were confronted with a difficult and almost impossible responsibility. Despite not having complete ownership of the boat and having to pay more than they had anticipated to buy out the other stockholders, they still intended to retain the Cornelia Marie in the family. To make matters more difficult, the 1989 Cornelia Marie also required extensive repairs. Despite the brothers' repeated attempts to obtain loans, hardly one took them seriously. They were viewed as too young, too inexperienced, and too dangerous by banks and investors. There were familial conflicts on top of everything else. Phil's old business partner Cornelia Marie Devlin, after whom the yacht was named, owned a significant portion of the ship and was not always in agreement with the Harris brothers. There were tough negotiations. In an effort to prove themselves to their crew, the fishing community, and millions of spectators, Josh and Jake battled for years to preserve their father's heritage. They looked like they might never make it. Following Phil's passing, the Cornelia Marie found herself in a difficult period. An old friend of Phil's, Derek Ray, took over as acting captain. It was his responsibility to carry out Phil's request that the boat's tale be told on Deadliest Catch. However, Ray's leadership quickly created conflict. He was rigid. He got into arguments with the bereaved brothers, particularly Jake. To intimidate Jake into being honest, Ray even accused him of doing narcotics on board and phoned the police. Fans and the crew were taken aback by that moment. Under Phil, the boat felt united, but now it felt split. The morale plummeted. The crew almost mutinied when the crab haul was subpar. They held Ray accountable for his harsh manner and failure to catch crab. This time frame turned into one of the Cornelia Marie's most traumatic and dramatic periods. Ultimately, following years of hardship, Josh Harris managed to move on. Casey McManus, a childhood friend who had developed into a proficient engineer and deckhand, joined him. They were able to raise the necessary funds together. Josh purchased 45% of Cornelia Marie. Casey acquired 5%. Two outside investors received the remaining 50%, with each retaining 25%. What they needed to overhaul the boat was provided by this deal. In 2015, they completed significant upgrades, including adding new 750 HP Cummins engines. They were both named co-captains. Josh contributed vision and heart. Casey provided technological expertise. They occasionally clashed and perplexed the audience. However, their cooperation saved the Cornelia Marie's life and brought it back to the most deadly catch. Jake was losing his life, while Josh was restoring the boat and his future. Prior to Phil's passing, his addiction had already been apparent. When Phil challenged him for stealing medications, the episode was seen by millions. Jake acknowledged that he was addicted. Phil's departure made matters worse. In 2010, Jake was taken into custody for DUI. He was arrested once more for narcotics possession and auto theft in 2017. He was imprisoned for DUI and heroin distribution in 2019. A license suspension, a police pursuit, and additional jail time. It spiraled grimly. Jake lost contact with Josh and Cornelia Marie. Despite coming from a strong and resilient family, his experience served as a tragic reminder of how addiction can ruin a life. Fans were taken by surprise in October 2016. On Deadliest Catch Season 13, while Cornelia Marie and Josh were absent, speculation erupted on social media. To make things clear, Josh uploaded a video. No drama on board was the reason. The creators made a choice that caused it. They decided that season to concentrate on other boats. Josh told supporters that he and the crew were prepared to fish, but he also expressed his dismay. Fans were incensed. Until the return of Cornelia Marie, many even threatened to boycott the show. The entire event demonstrated how strongly the Harris family and their yacht resonated with fans. That season's exclusion of the Cornelia Marie wasn't a personal choice. The network aimed to change up the plots. After so many years, they believed the show needed new perspectives to maintain viewers' interest. Josh and the team were irritated by this action, though. Their reputations and lives depended on the show. It served as a stark reminder that, in practice, TV writers dictate the plot regardless of actual events. The Harris family also had to deal with dreadful health difficulties. Several family members were in the intensive care unit at the same time. In July 2024, Renee Harris suffered a severe heart attack. She spent a week in the intensive care unit, required a double bypass, and was on life support for several days. 4 times her heart stopped. Other family members experienced medical emergencies such as brain hemorrhages and strokes. The strain was overwhelming. They had to put survival above fishing and filmmaking. They received financial donations and supportive letters from fans who banded together. The death of Josh's grandfather, Captain Grant Harris, added to the grief. Josh took a big punch from this second loss after losing Phil. He was greatly burdened by the pressure of living up to 2 generations of leaders while battling his own struggles. Josh has been transparent about his battles with anxiety and despair, but those same setbacks drove him to persevere. By continuing the Cornelia Marie story, he hoped to pay tribute to his father and grandfather. The Deadliest Catch crew evolved beyond simple camera operators over this entire process. They grew close to one another. The same icy winds, perilous waters, and restless nights confronted them. They witnessed the most intimate aspects of the Harris family's lives, including their triumphs, heartbreaks, and grief. While they frequently participated in the duties, the meals, and even the conflicts, they occasionally had to take a backseat during intensely private occasions. For fans who had been sorely missing the Cornelia Marie, her comeback in season 14 of Deadliest Catch was like a welcome boost. The boat went missing in 2017, leaving many spectators devastated. The blue and yellow hull had come to represent the performance and was associated with Captain Phil Harris's memory. Upon the announcement of Discovery's 2018 season comeback, the enthusiasm was unmistakable. There were a ton of postings, jokes, and even petitions on social media pleading with the network to retain the boat in the program. With Josh Harris and Casey McManus at the helm, fans tuned in, and ratings skyrocketed. It was more than nostalgia. Supporters hoped that the younger generation will be able to carry on Phil's legacy. There was obvious relief and joy. The return of the Cornelia Marie was like receiving a piece of the show's spirit, which was a part of it. The release of Deadliest Catch Bloodline in 2020 marked a startling new chapter in the Harris narrative. With this spin-off, the action was shifted from the frigid waters of Alaska to the tropical beaches of Hawaii. Josh discovered between 50 and 60 ancient fishing charts in his father's stateroom aboard the Cornelia Marie, which was the beginning of it all. There were 3 of these maps for Hawaii, with odd notes and fishing sites put on them. Determining to follow his father's hints, Josh teamed up with Casey and Jeff Silva, a local fisherman. They pursued the mysteries of Phil's maps together. They weren't only pursuing large fish, such as $2,000 a piece ahi tuna. A secret aspect of Phil's past was being revealed. By combining fishing with a personal journey, Bloodline demonstrated to audiences that Phil's aspirations went well beyond crab fishing. As the Cornelia Marie continued to sail, leadership shifts gradually became apparent. Following his appointment as co-captain in 2014, Casey McManus increasingly assumed leadership roles. Casey filled in for Josh while he dealt with personal and legal issues. Fans began to notice Casey managing the boat's operations and making important choices by season 14. Behind the scenes, his abilities maintained the Cornelia Marie's financial stability and seamless operation. As Josh's responsibilities decreased, particularly after his sinister secrets were revealed, Casey's leadership became crucial. After a while, Casey settled on land and rose to the position of vice president of operations for a large marine corporation. His ascent demonstrated the need of calm hands rather than just a well-known name for the Cornelia Marie. Josh's life, meantime, was collapsing. Once supporting fans were taken aback when his personal problems worsened. His reputation was eroded by relationship issues, financial mishaps, and inconsistent conduct. The biggest setback occurred in September 2022 when it was revealed that he had entered a guilty plea to sexually abusing a kid years prior. Discovery took quick action. In addition to removing Bloodline and Deadliest Catch from streaming services, they severed all connections with Josh. Josh's reputation nearly fell apart in a day. When old court records were made public online in August 2022, it was a devastating reminder of how stardom may shatter beneath the weight of lies. Fans were shocked to hear that Josh, who was 15 at the time, had raped a family friend's daughter, who was 4 years old, in 1998. The details of the case were terrible. It was too early for the child to really comprehend what was going on. Due to DNA delays, charges were not brought until the following year. Josh spent 9 months in prison in 1999 after entering a plea to a lower offense. In addition, he had to finish 2 years of treatment. Many thought the penalty was excessively modest considering the offense. For over 20 years, this sinister past remained concealed. Fans were upset and felt deceived when the truth was eventually revealed, wondering how a crime of this magnitude had gone unnoticed. As soon as the news spread, Discovery advanced swiftly. They had completely removed Josh and the Cornelia Marie from their performances by September 2022. Bloodline was cancelled. Previous episodes were removed from streaming providers in the US, Canada, and other countries. Tweets and promotional posts vanished as well. No connection to the scandal was desired by the network. The fans' opinions were divided. On their televisions, some lamented Cornelia Marie's passing, while others applauded Discovery's prompt action. Despite being blameless in all of this, Casey McManus still suffered consequences. Discovery also severed relations with Casey when they severed ties with Josh. Without his fault, his tenure on the show ended when his contract was not renewed. Fans thought it was unjust. Although he was always respected, Casey was caught in the middle of the maelstrom. He now works on tugboats as part of a new career. The abrupt termination of his TV career demonstrated how quickly things can go wrong in reality TV. Cornelia Marie embarked on a new journey in 2024. Taylor Jensen declared on June 17 that he and several partners had purchased the boat. Carrie Toivola, Jensen, Roger Thomas, and Jake Albino were on the team. Albino assumed the role of captain. Supporters were thrilled to see new faces prepared to guide Cornelia Marie into the future. Although they respected the boat's past, the new owners made it apparent that fishing, not celebrity, would be their main priority. Cornelia Marie had been free of the Harris family's shadow for the first time since Phil Harris's passing. A new era had dawned, one that was full of optimism for a future based more on hard effort at sea than on dramatic television.